Happy Saturday, and welcome to the Ram Ashram Satsang Weekend Workshop, where in under 1 hour, you'll learn a modern satsang technique for obtaining peace, light, and love in your life. My name is Eddie. I've been practicing satsang for 14 years. During that time, my life has become more peaceful and more joyous. I hope that you will have the same or better experience. Today, I will be introducing the facilitator for today's event. But first, I'd like to give a brief introduction to this weekend workshop. If you direct your attention towards your screen, you'll see the first element is satsang. Satsang is a modern scientific technique for obtaining peace, light, and love in your life. It requires no physical skill, spiritual accomplishment, or meditation experience to begin its practice. Satsang consists of two words, sat and sang. Sat means positive energy, and sang means to be with or to be in the presence of. Therefore, the word satsang means to be in the presence of positive energy. The next element is meditation. Meditation is an important element of satsang. When we meditate, we withdraw our consciousness from worldly objects, direct it inwards, and focus on a single thought. In doing so, our minds become calm and our thoughts become pure, thereby allowing us to obtain higher states of consciousness, such as enlightenment, peace, light, and love. Inner orientation. There are two types of satsang, inner satsang and outer satsang. An example of outer satsang would be chanting or attending pilgrimages. When we practice outer satsang, we have the potential to change our behavior. But it is only through the practice of inner satsang that we can obtain higher states of consciousness, such as enlightenment, peace, light, and love. The satsang that you will learn today is an inner satsang, where we meditate in silence. Group session. These weekend workshops are structured for group participation. When we meditate as a group, our focus is improved and our progress along our spiritual path is expedited. By regularly attending these weekend workshops, the benefits of group participation are amplified. Joy and inner happiness. All beings wish to experience joy. Joy is the eternal longing of the soul. But it is only through the practice of inner satsang that we can obtain a joyous state. Each time we practice satsang, our inner happiness gradually increases, ultimately culminating in the joyous state which we experience 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Today's session. The sessions for today consist of three subsessions. The first is the informative session, the second is the practice session, and then the third is the interactive session. During the informative session, a lecture will be given about a satsang topic, the founder, or some relevant spiritual topic. During the practice session, you'll receive instructions on how to meditate, followed by a period of practice. During the interactive session, you have the opportunity to ask questions, or there'll be a panel discussion. And now, I'd like to introduce the facilitator for today's event. He has over 40 years of satsang experience. He was born into a satsang family where he experienced his members obtain states of enlightenment and lead lives of peace, light, and love. At an early age, he began traveling with the mission throughout India, spreading satsang. And upon arriving here in the United States, both he and his wife continued to conduct satsang for satsangees. Since that time, he has led efforts to make satsang more available to Westerners and English-speaking audiences. He has worked with teams of satsang members to translate important satsang literature into English. During his time here, he has strived to clarify the meanings of yoga, satsang, and guru. He currently travels throughout the United States and India conducting satsangs. And today, He will teach us a rare and ancient form of satsang as taught by Guru Maharaj. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Sanjeev Kumarji.
So happy Saturday, everyone. Glad that you're here. And today, it's an interesting topic, the third eye. Is that obviously it's not a physical entity, but I think people have described it as the associated with the pineal gland and so on and so forth. But I have my own views on that. But let's watch a video first, and then I'll just go over a few highlights, and then we can, after the meditation, either go a little deeper or have some questions on that. Let's.
Hi, everyone. My name is Parul, and this is my dad and my great-grandfather. And today we're going to be discussing the topic of opening your third eye, but actually the difference between going from your third eye and going into your heart center from there. So it's a pretty vast topic. If this is something that interests you, it'll be really interesting for you to hear that perspective from a very spiritual family. And I'm going to kick it off to my dad now.
So, yeah, it's a deep question. I actually, this has been described in multiple contexts. Guru Maharaj has written several books, mostly in Hindi. And he does say that, if your goal was enlightenment, or, he used to refer it as ocean of peace. So if you want to get to the ocean of peace, there are milestones for that path, or, and there are 5-step process that thousands of years ago in Upanishads described it. So I have this pyramid which has 5 steps, realm of the world, realm of life, realm of the mind, realm of knowledge, and realm of love. So these 5 steps have to be crossed to get to that ocean of peace. Now the 4th realm, which is when you actually have controlled your mind through meditation, which Guru Maharaj prescribed a very unique and, in relatively speaking, rather simple process. So when you cross the realm of mind through meditation, you get into the 4th realm, which is realm of knowledge. That is where your third eye opens. So what does that mean? So you have 2 physical eyes, but there is the intellect, or the third eye, that opens up and gives you clarity that you never had before. Like opening the third eye depicts the enablement of dormant intellectual capabilities within your brain. So, we as humans have very deep mental powers, but we normally don't use them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. So where does being psychic or, Reiki and all these topics that people love so much, and I've also loved them myself, but where do they land? Are they even in that 4th realm, or what is really opening the third eye? Are they connected? Are they unconnected?
So opening the third eye is almost your ability to grasp and perceive extremely deep and very complex subjects through means that were not, available to you earlier. So this 5-step process to the ocean of peace, as I was describing, is a spiritual journey. In this spiritual journey, through enabling your spiritual capabilities, you get more and more intuitive as you grow. You open up your inner voice. So a lot of what we call psychic capabilities is the ability to, let's say, see the future, or the ability to perceive things and read things that normal humans cannot. How would that happen? You will have to open up your intellectual capabilities that a lot of us do have, but we haven't enabled them. So it's like a switch, but that getting to that switch, knowing where that switch is and putting that on is like if I was in a dark room and if I put the switch on, the light comes on, I see a lot of things that I wasn't able to see before. That I call the third eye, that I call the psychic powers, that I call the mental powers. But a word of caution, Guru Maharaj, who enlightened himself, described the third eye and certain things beyond that, said that it's like you have lots of capabilities that you can acquire, but it's like investment into your bank account. If you start spending it, which is like you start using some of those capabilities early on, then you are dissipating that energy. Instead, if you invest into your spiritual journey, you will go all the way to the ocean of peace, to the state of enlightenment. So if you get stuck in the third or the fourth or the fifth realm in your journey, so you are still in the journey. So yes, it's a higher capability. Yes, we should all have that. But a lot of people don't need to demonstrate that because they want to continue the journey and want to go to where the real everlasting peace is, which should be the goal of all of us, right?
Agreed.
Sure.
Wow. So if we start spending, but let's say, we started telling people like,
that what
their
your
future or something.
is,
I don't know. Yeah. Like
I mean,
something
you
like
can read people's mind, for example.
Yeah.
Right?
And so let's say you start spending, but then you get to a place where you realize like you want to stop, and then you start it again.
So the thing is that, say, if you continue your meditative practices, the meditative practices that Guru Maharaj learned from his guru, the other Guru Maharaj, Lalaji Maharaj, he took him all the way, and what he realized was that one of the things you don't want to do is get stuck in a place where you are demonstrating your capabilities, and that's an outward activity. Mm-hmm. This journey is inwards, peace is inside. So let's continue the journey till you get to the ocean of peace, right? So it's, I mean, if you have acquired some capabilities, if there is a dire need, use it. But if you, start using it to show that it's like a demonstration of, like worldly people do. You demonstrate that, oh, I have a nice shiny car, right? It's very similar.
Yeah.
Right? So that doesn't really, it distracts you from your journey, I think.
Okay. I love that. So I think that was a good explanation of, your third eye opening and how you can use it to your own advantage. And keep working on the inner world instead of the outer world, which is so important right now. I think, especially with like spiritual entrepreneurs and all this stuff flourishing, it's nice to see, but it's also like not the the basis of that real like spirituality of ascending into like liberation, right?
See, we are not here to sell peace. We are here to be at peace.
Yeah.
And if you are in that land, you become infectiously peaceful. What that means is everybody who comes in contact without buying anything becomes peaceful. So it's a different approach.
Yeah. All right, I love that. So I hope that was helpful. That is everything around opening your third eye and your abilities, but also making sure that you're not getting distracted. So hope you guys got something out of that. And I think that's a good place to end here.
Sure thing.
All right, bye.
Wow, that was an interesting discussion. So yeah, we'll open up for discussion after the meditation, but a few points. Number one, I was actually watching a podcast on this topic, and what it said was that, like sleep cycle and the circadian rhythm and all that, there are hormones that, kind of keep us in that rhythm. All that is, maintained through the pineal gland of ours. So the thing is that when it is dark and we have to, go to sleep, sunrises, you have a different rhythm. So what they're saying is that there is that ability to perceive the sunlight deep into our heads. So even there is a physical aspect of this third eye, in the sense that, yes, it's not like the other two eyes, which make us see, in a physical view of the world, but then there is another part of our, body that also perceives light in some way. But then my perception or my understanding of the third eye is more like you have a hardwired change in your brain. So bear with me. It to me, it is more like you continue to evolve spiritually in certain ways, and then you get to a point where your decision making, your view of the world, your approach to or actually the way you see things, just like literally, like as you cross that line, or as you open your third eye, the depth, the breadth, the way something is perceived just drastically changes. And so we can talk about the third eye, we can try to understand the third eye, but then to experience it, what Upanishad said, and what I think I personally feel, is that you got to be in the fourth realm to really experience what that really means. Till then, it is, any other subject that you're discussing. And in Gita, there is a discussion about Ritambara Buddhi. Again, there's a lot of description around it. And the description is like, there are people who achieve this state where they're so neutral / or maybe even objective in their view, because the emotional upheaval, when you get over the emotional upheaval through the third realm, and when you enter the fourth realm, you actually find that you can use your brain very differently once the cloud of emotions, fade away. I mean, at least they are not there all the time. And then there is also a saying in Hindi, bin satsang vivek na hoy, which is basically without satsang, you cannot have the discriminatory capability, which is like, how do I understand what is right, what is wrong? So personally, I feel that you got to be in the fourth realm to understand your purpose in life, and also to really understand what's right and what's wrong, because that clarity till then is so in the lower realms, we're more self-centered versus looking for the common good. We are more me rather than looking at the broader aspects. At the lower realms, you are the way you would think about right and wrong is could be very self-centric. So I think it is, maturing in some ways, but in so many ways, it's like almost a milestone, which once you cross, your view of the world drastically changes. Anyway, we'll talk more after the session. So, essentially, the idea is that we continue. So Guru Maharaj, his process, his method, his approach to meditation starts us on the third realm already. But the third realm can be a long and ardent, it's one, I think it's the longest of the realms, because mind is so hard to control, so hard to tame, but practice. So that's what every session we do. So let's get into it. So for next 20-30 minutes, let's figure out a posture where we're relaxed and completely like there is no pressure, so that we don't have to move the body again and again, because every time the body moves, our mind moves with it. And then eyes lightly closed for the same reason, because sensory input distracts our mind. And then think of this transcendental energy in form of light, which is right here, right now with us. And it's in front of us. This light is entering our heart, distributing throughout our body, and we are becoming completely immersed in this light. If, we get distracted, just bring it back. Every time you see that, the mind has taken you away elsewhere, bring it back to this thought and this thought alone, that this transcendental energy is in front of us in form of light, and this light is entering our heart and it's distributing throughout our body, and we are becoming one with this light. We're becoming the light. We're becoming the energy. So let's start now. We'll start with some music, then meditation in silence, and then we'll transition out with music. Let's start. Happy Saturday, everyone. Liz, how are you?
Happy Saturday. It's wonderful to meditate with you all as always. I am well. I really enjoyed the topic that you discussed today. It's very interesting. It's the idea that we all have this ability to, we have these senses perhaps, better to say, that are beyond the five, but most of us don't access that. But the idea that to access that or to have that ability, you have to still be very careful with it. That's very important. Yeah. And I think a lot of faiths and paths like try to protect that. Like they try to warn against abusing that or accessing that which may, hinder your spiritual progress. So it's really interesting that you brought it up today in this context. That's my thought. I don't have more than that right now, but I just thought it's something that I've heard before. It's like an affirmation of things I've heard before.
Yeah, it's a fascinating subject. It's and something to work towards. And it's like, see, the interesting point here is that brain is still the understanding of the brain, even by this scientific community and the research, is still very limited. And, I think we as human species, distinguish ourselves from the rest with this primarily, right? So understanding that is so important.
That's true. Yeah. And I don't think it's limited to just a few select people. Like that, it's just we don't access that. But there's like danger in access. I mean, I don't want to put it in terms of danger, but like everything else, right? If you, like you put it, it could become an object of like unhelpful focus.
Yeah. See, there is the right way to do something versus, the alternate. Yeah. See, interesting thing is that we would cross this bridge on our way to, enlightenment. And now when you do that, would you get distracted? Would you get, so enamored with it that you forget about the ultimate destination? I think that's always the thing. Yeah. So, Eddie?
Happy Saturday, everyone. Happy Saturday, Sanjeevi. It's an interesting interesting topic today. I think it always raises interest in people when they hear about these things of being able to be clairvoyant and clairaudience and increasing your mental powers is always fascinating. But it's like you said, these things we don't want to become attached to. But I'll say that in the practice of satsang, you had mentioned before that, our chakras and so forth become activated as we practice this satsang. So it's not like you have to direct your mind or your meditations to activate the specific energy centers. It will happen on its own in a safe way. As these chakras become energized and as the webs that divide these chakras dissolve, our endocrine glands or the or the ductless glands become more active and basically come enlivened again from their dormant states. And so we're able to experience these changes within our mind and also physiologically within our bodies. As these ductless glands become activated, specific hormones and so forth are released in the body, and we begin to change physically and as well as mentally. So these things happen naturally. There's no need to, through the satsang method, it happens naturally. There's no need to focus on it and direct your energy towards your chakras and try to hasten this. It will happen in due time and you will experience it. Now, the thing is to someone who is at the bottom of the pyramid or maybe in the second level of the pyramid, these things appear to be very fascinating. But the truth and reality is that they become like a child with a new toy. You experience it, you play with it for a minute or 5 minutes, and then you drop it and you're off to, doing other things. It no longer holds your interest. So to sort of have it as a goal to achieve those states of consciousness or powers is sort of hollow. Because they want, the desire or the time you spend practicing those things won't last very long. and you'll want to continue moving on to the higher realms of consciousness and experience things like joy, which are really exhilarating, transformative, and the ultimate goal of our practice here in Satsang. So the topic in itself, again, I said, is interesting, and we need to know these things for as we increase our consciousness and reach these higher states. We should know about these things so that we aren't startled or become afraid. But again, it's not something that we should, become attached to. It will happen. The most important thing here is to practice. And when we're given these discussions, these lectures, basically, that Sanjeev gave today, we understand them and we sort of tuck them aside, and then we reach those states of consciousness. We're not shocked, we're not surprised. We realize this is a normal part of the process. We understand it, and we continue moving on.
Yep. So, Arvindji, Shante, Ajita, anything else before we wrap up? Onkar?
Namaskar, everyone. Namaskar, Bhaiya.
Namaskar.
Again, it was a blissful session. Thank you for that. Thank you. I was just thinking when you mentioned, about the states of mind, it comes to my thought that the presence of a capable guru is perhaps essential for a satsangi to progress from the realm of the mind to the realm of knowledge, where, as you rightly said, the state of Ritambara Buddhi, or the state of mind that can perhaps, as you alluded to, the third eye process or the third eye, physicality, is made possible. And it's very interesting that even the human science and biology, and you said the mind, and there's lots of studies going on, people still are trying to struggle to understand that. And from my past, I remember coming across, functional MRI studies, which look at the brain very carefully. And they looked at, controlled groups of people who went through truly supported transcendental meditation, as opposed to, quote, normal population. And the fMRI studies confirmed that the amygdala, which is part of the limbic system, and limbic system in the brain is noise, lots of anxiety, noise, hither and thither, to and fro, mind, thoughts. Limbic system is always challenging us human beings. And the prefrontal cortex is a screen, or orbitofrontal cortex, which is the front part of the brain, is a screen that dampens the oscillations and calms the mind to a level, to a certain level, in all of us normal human beings. And the group that had true transcendental meditation, physically, the thickness of the prefrontal cortex and the orbital frontal cortex was greater substantially when compared to the other cohorts. So, even in physiological studies, what you say, makes all the sense. But once again, extremely fortunate to be able to join this, and happy Saturday, everybody. Namaskar.
Namaskar. So, Onkar, anything from you? Shante, anything from you?
Bhaiya, namaste. I'm just listening to everyone. Thank you.
All right. So, Eddie, any last word before we wrap up?
Just a reminder, this past Saturday, we had talked about, the potential to obtain the states of consciousness, and is it real? Again, just a reminder, this is a scientific method. Guru Maharaj has proved that this works, 3 times over. And so he gave us instruction, and he said that basically all we have to do is practice and, excuse me, I'm having trouble today, obtain states of detachment. And so, you know, closing up today, I would just remind everyone that the important thing here to do is not so much lament, not realizing that you've obtained higher states of consciousness, but to just every day practice and know that you're successful when you practice each and every day. And so that's the goal. It's just practice, practice, practice. And then being a scientific method, you'll ultimately end up getting to the goal that you seek.
Yeah. So with that, again, happy Saturday, everyone, and have a great week ahead. We'll see you all soon. Namaskar. Thank you for being here.
Namaste, Bhaiya.
Namaskar.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Liz.
Pranam.
Namaskar.